in the topic is the new global tax reform inclusive, while Lukman is going to be in the opposition of the topic. They both have 4 minutes for their presentation and a 1 minute rebuttal to make up 10 minutes for their matches. The judges will be scoring and collating as each of the matches go on. And please, Mr. Chairman, permit me to introduce the judges along with their profile. So today we have Miss Kelly Phillips. She's the team lead for Bloomberg Tax Insight and Commentary. And here, I believe the first speaker, the moderator, read some of our profile, and I will go through it once again. Miss Kelly Phillips is the team lead for Bloomberg Tax Insight and Commentary. Before moving to Bloomberg, she was a senior editor at Forbes. Kelly's articles and interviews have appeared in a wide range of media outlets, including CNN Morning, National Public Radio's Marketplace, BBC, Time, Forbes magazines, Esquire, Martha Stewart's Living, the Philadelphia Inquirer, and the ABA Journal. As a tax attorney, she is a member of the Bar of Pennsylvania and is licensed to practice in front of the U.S. Tax Court. She is permitted to engage in limited pro bono practice in her home state of North Carolina through legal aid of NC. She earned a JD and a LLM in taxation from Temple University School of Law in Philadelphia, PA. While at law, Kelly interned in the Federal Estate and Gift Tax Attorney Division of the IRS, where she participated in the review and audit of the federal estate tax returns. Kelly is the author of the popular book Tax Girl blog. She's the author of the popular Tax Girl blog, which has been recognized by the ABA Journal as one of the top blogs written by lawyers. In 2014, the blog was added to the ABA Journal Blog 100 Hall of Fame. She is a regular speaker at tax events and has appeared on a number of podcasts. Kelly's own podcast, Tax Girl, features conversation about tax, money, and the choices that we make. Welcome, Kelly. The next person on the judges panel is Katrina Logran. She's the founder of the Extra Tax Training. Katrina has 20 years experience in UK and international tax, gained in large accounting firms, multinationals, and HMRC. She is a fellow of the Chartered Accountants Ireland and an associate of the UK's Chartered Institute of Taxation, holding both the Chartered Tax Advisor and Advanced Diploma in International Tax Qualifications. Katrina found Extra Tax Training in 2019 to provide online training courses to tax professionals around the world studying for the UK Chartered Institute of Taxation's ADIT qualification. She strongly believes in the ADIT certification and wants to help fellow tax professionals achieve it. Welcome. The next person on the panel is Mangadi Dikotla. She's the head of tax, Total Energies, South Africa. And here is a profile. Mangadi is a highly talented and skilled finance executive, tax executive, and chartered accountant by profession with higher diploma in tax law, as well as higher diploma in international tax. She has more than 19 years experience working in challenging roles, providing bespoke finance and tax solutions for multinational companies. She began her career in 2003 as a trainee accountant at Moores Rowland, now Mazars, then Transnet. She was appointed corporate tax consultant as Ernst & Young Tax and Advisory Services in 2007 before joining Total South Africa, now Total Energies Marketing South Africa. As corporate as group corporate tax accountant in 2008. She excelled on the role and grew along the company's ranks, becoming group direct tax specialist, acting group tax manager. She then joined Afric Oil as group finance director, responsible for finance, information systems, human resources, legal, and insurance. She then joined Total Energies Marketing South Africa as the head of tax, responsible for tax compliance and risk management, including Namibia, Botswana, and Swaziland. She also serves as the accountant tax member for SARS Tax Court since November 2012 and a trustee of the Total Energies Marketing South Africa Provident Fund since November 2020. She was recognized as the Break the Ceiling Touch Sky 2022 Africa's most inspirational women in leadership. Welcome. Finally, okay, no, not finally. We also have on the panel Mr. Afolabi Elebiju. He's the principal law barristers and solicitors. Mr. Afolabi is the Mr. Folabi is a graduate from the Harvard Law School's International Finance LLM program in 2007 after his corporate and commercial LLM from the University of Lagos in 1997. He obtained his two second-class OPA BA Ed and LLB degrees from Obafemi Awolowo University OAU Ile-Ife in 1987 and 1993 respectively. He has been a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, FCTI, since 2008 and was one time Vice Dean of the Indirect Tax Faculty. Called to the Nigerian Bar in 1995 and starting his career as Associate Counsel with Olaniwun Ajayi LP, he briefly ran his earlier practice, Stickley Lloyd, in 1998. He was variously senior consultant, manager, and senior manager at the same KPMG Professional Services from 1998 to 2006, then tax regulatory partner, Templars Barristers and Solicitors from 2007 to 2013, and General Counsel, African Capital Alliance from 2013 to 2014, before founding Lee Law, a niche law firm. A widely published writer and presenter, he has for over 2 decades been actively contributing to Nigeria's business landscape reform, competitiveness improvement discourse on diverse platforms, including in influential international media. Welcome, sir. And finally, on the panel, we have Zenija Sipek. She's the head of tax risk analysis, Ministry of Finance in Croatia. Zenisha is Dame of Honor, has worked with the Ministry of Finance, Tax Administration of the Republic of Croatia for almost 3 decades. She is highly respected and recognized international tax expert who was heavily involved in lawmaking and was responsible for several tax reforms in Croatia. As a project leader, she established compliance, risk analysis system, CRMS, and provided idea solution for automatic VAT refund based on risk analysis system in Croatian tax administration. She's currently involved as a head for task risk analysis in a future development of CRM system, connection of tax legislation and CRM system through risk analysis, especially in an analysis of solutions for applying new technologies. She is board advisor of European Network for Economic Cooperation and Development, EUCED, AEIE, EEIG, contributor of the Blockchain Chamber of Commerce, USA, member of a government blockchain association, GBA, lecturer at the Faculty of Law of the University of Zagreb, where she is an author and book writer. Welcome, ma'am. And that is our panel. So I believe we can go quickly to the first match of the debate. Let's have the first set. Oluwafemi Ojongolo, in support of the topic, the legislation's right to task the citizen has no bounds. The opponent is Michael Okuwobi. I shall be reading the judges the judges note to both of them so that we're clear on what is going to be used to judge your presentation. I believe they are both ready to go. Is Michael and his opponent here? So a breakdown of the modality uh, as follows. There would be 8 participants. The 8 participants will be paired in twos as earlier called out. There will be 4 topics as I've mentioned earlier. Each of the 4 sets will speak for and against the topic. The participant A is for the topic and the participant B is against the topic. Participant C and participant D against the topic, and so on until participant H. The participants will be allowed to present in 4 minutes without any disruption. Each team will have a right of rebuttal of 1 minute each. The presentation will be assessed on the following criteria. Content of their presentation is 30 marks. Persuasiveness of their argument is 20 marks. Clarity and organization of their point is 10 marks. Use of authority to support the argument is 10 marks. The ingenuity and poise of the presenter, of the debater, is 10 marks. Time management is 10 marks, and strength of rebuttal is another 10 marks, giving us a total of 100 marks for each participant. As a judge, the judges will, after a team's presentation, are allowed to ask questions. The presenter is expected to answer in 30 seconds only. The questions where we encourage questions only where it is extremely necessary to enable us keep to the time allotted to this program. After all 8 participants have presented, they will be required to pass on the score sheet. Judges will be required to pass on the score sheet and give us some of their comments on the presentation, an opinion on the topic in a total of 10 minutes, after which the results will be called and the program will continue as planned according to the outline sent to everyone. I believe that is clear, and we can move on to the first match in earnest. Is Timileyin there?
Thank you very much, Musiat. Really appreciated. I think you've done just very, very great job and giving out the modalities, introducing the judges, and getting the ball rolling for us to immediately begin. At this time, although you initially announced that we'll be starting with the first match, however, for the sake of giving an extra room to our participants, one of whom is currently not up yet, we would be taking the second match. We have the 2 speakers ready and good to go. So for that sake, we'll proceed on the second match, after which we would revert back to the first.
Okay.
I would request that we confirm first that all judges are in before we proceed. Okay, so I think we are good. We have 4 of our judges online, and one more judge is to join in, and it was in earlier on, but I'm sure we'll get him back in. But while waiting, Chidozie Chikwe and Faithful Ayosalako. I believe you are ready for us and you are indeed good to go anytime from now. Speaking on the topic, there is a delicate balance between taxation and human rights. Which is more important? You'll be coming up on stage next, so kindly get prepared. I hope faithful Ayoselako can hear me, and he or she is very much ready. I can see Chidozie is good to go. As soon as we confirm that our judges are set and ready, then we'll shoot immediately. Let's just do a quick run to be sure we're good to go. Chidozie, I hope you're good to go, Chidozie. Kindly confirm.
Yes, I am.
Okay, faithful Ayoselako, I believe you're good to go.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be quickly passing out the message for those who are currently on this platform. You could also join in on YouTube. You could join in LinkedIn Live. You could join in on Facebook and continue to enjoy the session. Kindly continue to pass on the information and get others to join in and also enjoy the moment. This is a quick time out for you to just do a quick message to that very important friend, or maybe a supporter, or maybe a well wisher who you would want to quickly come and cheer you on. You could quickly send a message now before we proceed in earnest. For the participant, again, kindly take notes. When it's 1 minute, you get when it's 1 minute left, you get a prompt just roll underneath the page. And when it's time up, you would also get that prompt. So that would give you a guide on when you need to stop. You could also help yourself in doing a self timer. I'm sure that would also assist you further. Okay. I believe we're doing just what has been stated. We are in you're sending messages to those who should be here. Would request the other participants just stay on standby in the YouTube platform or the LinkedIn platform and continue to watch on while we begin in a very brief moment from now. Our last judge would be joining us right in a moment from now. Other participants that are not speaking yet, kindly stay on the YouTube platform and LinkedIn platform to continue to follow while we have the participants who are meant to go now proceed immediately. Okay, so at this moment, I believe just waiting for the final shoot. Okay, at this time, I think we'll just have to proceed immediately. Yes, please. Chidozie and Faithful, you can come up now. I believe we have our timer ready now, and we're good to go. Um, the judges, can you kindly give me a confirmation with possibly a nod, so I know we are ready to proceed? Oh, I see that, Mark Kelly. Other judges, please kindly just give me that confirmation, so I'm sure we are good to go, and the speakers can shoot from their points. Do I have your permission? Do I take it as your permission to proceed? Our judges, a confirmation, please. Our judges, confirmation, please. Okay, at this point, I think we'll proceed immediately. Once again, I would read out the topic and we go there. There is a delicate balance between taxation and human rights. Which is more important? Chidozie, over to you.
Can I start now?
Please proceed.
Is it clear enough? Can you all hear me? Can I just get color my sound?
Yes, you're loud and clear, so you can proceed now. Your time would start right away.
So we live in an imperfect world where we constantly strive for perfection. In a world where we have less rights and we strive for more rights. If you think this debate is about prioritizing raising revenue over human rights, then you are wrong. This debate is strictly about how we can actually get to the world where we want to from the world we are currently through the instrumentality of taxation. So taxation is the act or process of actualizing taxes. Taxes are fiscal policies of the government to distribute resources, regulate conduct, stimulate the economy, and eventually realize human rights through the instrumentality of progressive taxation. But human rights are inalienable rights we all enjoy as human beings, irrespective of the government in place, but they're not self-enforcing. So therefore, what we have in status quo are systems that it is the concept of taxation, concept of human rights as opposed to the actualization of human rights. So taxation is the bridge that bridges the concept of human rights and the actualization of human rights in society. To bridge this gap in society, two main arguments will be fostered by myself. So first is the argument saying more resources equals more rights. Then secondly, taxation gives us a sense of entitlement and also makes us moral stakeholders in government. So first, more resources more rights. Let's look at the statistics. The tax to GDP ratio of South Africa is 34.3%. Of South Africa is 26.2%. Of Tunisia is 34.3%. Of Kenya is 17.3%. When you just suppose this tax to GDP ratio and together with the human rights index, you find out that the higher your tax to GDP ratio, the higher your human rights index. This clearly shows that there's a linkage between taxing of the economy and provision of human rights. So more resources, more rights. Although resources, there's so many ways of government can actually actualize the resources. There's so many other ways, which included is taxation. But taxation is the most sustainable and predictable source of government revenue. So it gives you two things in a balance. One, government, a government that can better organize itself to collect taxes is more better organized to provide for these rights. That's one. Then secondly, more money is being spent on the essential frameworks that provides this right across board for every individual. So the government is able to equip their court system, their judiciary, able to make good laws, able to have a good enforcing system to provide for human rights in general. So more resources equates more rights. And from the statistical figure, you find out that countries with higher tax to GDP ratio have a higher human rights index. Second point is moral stakeholders. We have become, once you pay your tax in this social contract theory we have, once you pay your taxes, you are entitled, you have a sense of entitlement towards the social contract that is between the government and the governed, where you can actually demand for these rights when they are not given. So in our model, taxation not just only provides more rights for you, it also gives you a platform where you can also demand for more rights when such rights are being denied. Take, for example, the Tunisia, where the Arab Spring began. Arab Spring began in Tunisia as a protest against economic rights when they were being violated. Also in South Africa, where the protest of the Rose Must Fall protest about education and discrimination in the educational system. Just opposite with the Nigerian system, where we have a tax to GDP ratio of 6.0%, and we have a tax to GDP ratio of 6.0%, and students have been at home for over 6 months.
Thank you very much, Chidozie. Um, Thanks for also watching the timing, and I see that you also immediately discovered your time as well. We'll go now for Faithful Ayosolako. I'm sure you're ready for us.
Good afternoon. I'd like to confirm if I'm audible and visible before I start.
Very, 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 very audible and visible. So you can proceed.
All right, thank you. The question whether taxation is more important than human rights is a very delicate one, and I would like to answer it in the negative using three very vital words: valuable added tax. The first word, valuable. Since the topic requires we ask which element is more important, we will do well to ask why are they important. For if we know why each element is more important, we can then compare and contrast to know which is more important. So let's begin. Why is tax important? Responding to this question, the International Monetary Fund, in a 2001 publication titled Tax Policy for Developing Countries, noted that taxation is the only practical means of raising revenue to finance government expenditure. This means the value of tax revenue is best enjoyed by the government that collects the tax, not the world at large. Question 2. Why are human rights important? Paragraph 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights answers this by using the phrase all members of the human family to show that the value in the recognition of this right is not specific to a government but is universal. My esteemed judges, what this means is that while upholding human rights is a collective international responsibility, collecting tax is not. This is why when certain human rights violations occur, they are called crimes against humanity, not against the states where they are committed. First, taxes, human rights are more important as whatever is of value to all must be more important than what is of value to one. Moving on to the next word, added. Tax is not the main attraction, it only adds value to the main attraction. Tax's role is not supplementary, not elementary. And by this, I mean tax is not the end, it's only a means to the end, and that end is human rights. The proof that tax is only a vehicle to the destination called human rights can be seen in its contribution to various social, economic, and cultural rights. For instance, according to the United Nations Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, in the 2014 Education for All Global Monitoring Database, most of the countries farthest from the enjoyment of the right to education are those who have not taxed their bases sufficiently. Furthermore, according to a 2012 article published in the African Economic Policy Outlook titled Resource Blessing Revenue Cost, Domestic Revenue Efforts in Resource-Rich Countries, states that rely on tax tend to utilize the revenue generated to guarantee various economic and social rights. Meanwhile, states that do not rely on tax but on natural resources tend to not guarantee these same rights. If you need extra proof to validate this assertion, I might not need to cite any authority. I just need you to do one thing: look around you. Moving on to the final word, tax, or more specifically, tax abuse. In a bid to combat tax abuse, the measures adopted by states might end up violating other human rights, such as the right to privacy and data protection. However, according to Reuven Abiyona in a 2019 article titled Taxation and Human Rights, a Delicate Balance, the right to privacy does not share the same scope of protection in tax and non-tax contexts, such as the law of tort. This is why taxpayers cannot claim to be free from government intrusion, as the country's economic well-being needs to be prioritized. For instance, in the case of Young Yuye versus the United States, a case involving the cross-border exchange of information between the Internal Revenue Service and Korean Tax Authority, it was established that the petitioner had no legitimate expectation of privacy in his bank accounts. In a similar situation in GSB versus Switzerland, the European court noted that there was no violation of the right to respect for private and family life, as only the applicant's bank details, that is, purely financial information, not information related to his identity, were transmitted. As I conclude, it's worthy of note that the issues in contention in the cases I mentioned was not whether tax should be prioritized over individual rights, or whether tax ensures that individual rights should be prioritized over collective rights. In essence, the crux of the matter was, is, and will always be human rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, faithful Ayos Salakot. Really, really grateful for also working towards your timing and ensuring that you're delivering within time. So far, I'm certain that from the comments we can see so far, so many persons are already cheering on and taking sides. That's why the debates. They're meant to take sides and also enjoy the presentations. I'm sure our judges are doing good to take note of what has been presented, and in the end, we would have that's communicated to us later on. Without taking any more time, I would say once again, thank you to Chidozie, Chikwe, and Faithful Salako. You may now proceed to join us from the YouTube and LinkedIn platform, while we'll bring on the next round of speakers to come up on stage immediately. We're talking about Michael Okuebi and Oluwafemi Ajongolo. I'm sure they will be online shortly. Okay, Michael, I can see you. You okay? Perfect. We have both speakers ready now, and I'm sure they are ready to shoot immediately. They'll be speaking on the topic: the legislature's right to tax the citizens has no bounds. I think I've said enough. It's now time for you guys to speak. Please, over to you, Oluwafemi Ajongolo. Just to note again, when it's 1 minute left, you would see the time run through on the screen. And when it is time up, you would also see the prompt come up on the screen. Kindly take note of both.
Okay. Yes. Can you hear me, please?
Loud and clear. Over to you. You can proceed.
Okay. Thank you. In any society, the central function of the government is to regulate the affairs of the state. Therefore, we realize that any system which aims to shift the power of regulation to the hands of those who ought to be regulated is one that leaves the door wide open for anarchy. And anarchy is exactly what will be introduced to our tax systems the moment we decide to place bounds on the powers of the legislature to tax the citizens. The panel, co-debaters, ladies and gentlemen, speaking before you is Ajongolo Oluwafemi, and for the next few minutes, I shall be canvassing argument as to the fact that the powers of the legislature to impose taxes on the citizens has no bounds, and the status quo should remain that way. Before proceeding, it is important to establish the status quo by stating clearly that it is a generally recognized principle across various countries in the world that the powers of the legislature to tax the citizens has no bounds. This can be easily gleaned from various legislations, international agreements, and constitutions around the world, all of which clearly reveal that the power to make laws on taxation resides solely within the ambit of the legislature, and that such powers are discretionary in nature. Needless to say, discretion is a function of prerogative, and prerogative in itself is boundless. This can be easily illustrated by taking a look at Section 8, Clause 1 of the United States Constitution, Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution, in tandem with the second schedule, Part 1 and 2 of the same. Not to forget the European Court of Human Rights, which clearly reveals that every law of the legislature made on taxation is valid as long as it applies the principle of legality. That being said, I'll be showing the reason why this status quo should continue from three major standpoints. First is the existence of adequate check mechanisms on the legislature. It is clear that any attempt to limit the power of the legislature would be overkill in view of the already existing check mechanisms, which can be seen in form of the doctrine of checks and balances, and most importantly, the power of constitutional record, which is wielded by the electorate. Aside that, it is important to clearly establish that the legislatures are representatives of the people, and as such, any attempt to place a limitation on the power of the legislature is an affront on democracy and an attack on the will of the people. Furthermore, it is important to establish that the relevance of any law or its effectiveness of tax policies is largely based on its ability to mirror the reality of a society. Therefore, in a situation whereby laws are not dynamic and are unchangeable, it will create problems in our society. And that is exactly what we obtain in circumstances where we allow interference with the works of the legislature. Where interference is allowed with the works of the legislature, it begins to create loopholes for a slow decision-making process. And a slow decision-making process is very much unhealthy for our tax system and development in the long run. Lastly, it is important to state that the level of ignorance that permits taxation in various jurisdictions around the world could prove threatening the moment we limit powers of the legislature. For example, NESG clearly shows that in Nigeria, less than 50% of Nigerians know what taxation entails. Therefore, allowing interference from such section of the society would be foolhardy and would mean lead to the blind, leading people with eyesight. The effect of that is so devastating that it is better expressed than experienced. In conclusion, it is important to state that taxation is a form of consideration of the people paid to the government in recognition of the fact that the government will perform their duties and obligations. I would then leave with this question. If no limits are placed on the rights of the citizens to enjoy infrastructure and amenities put in place by the government, why then do we seek to place limits on the power of the same government to tax the citizens? Thank you.
Well done. Well
Can I
done,
go?
Oluwafemi.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can go on to the opposition, Michael Kuwobi. Michael, can you hear me?
Hi there. Can I go now? Can anyone hear me?
Can you hear me? Please go on. Go on with your presentation. I'm not sure I can hear anything.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I'll begin immediately. Miss or Mrs. Mutia Talagoke, please confirm if you can hear me.
I can hear you, but it's not loud enough. Can you do
Oh,
it
okay.
without the earpiece?
All right. Is it perfect now?
Better.
Thank you very much. So I'll begin immediately. An abomination, her blasphemy, her great sin. These were the words of the people of Aro to Jaguda, the great warrior. Jaguda, being the great warrior, thought his powers and authority was without bounds. And no one, absolutely no one, could check that Jaguda, could talk senses into his heads, except these three chiefs. Ladies and gentlemen, these three chiefs are Good Day, the panel of judges, the moderator, co-debaters, and the listening audience. My name is Michael Okuwobi, and I appear here today to present my opposing views on the motion, the legislature's power to tax its citizens has no bounds. I shall be marshalling my argument on three main standpoints: LET. L, meaning limitation within the legal framework. E, the economic realities of the general populace. And T, territorial limitation. Ladies and gentlemen, L, the limitation within the legal framework. The legislature cannot have unfettered rights or powers to tax the citizens if there is no legal framework from which these powers arise from. No right or power exists in a vacuum. There must of a necessity be an enabling law from which the rights to tax the citizens must arise from. No taxes can be levied except under the authority of the law. Ladies and gentlemen, for example, the United States Constitution is the enabling law from which the powers of the United States Congress to tax the citizen arises from. Specifically, in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1, the spending and taxing clause, to be precise. In the same light, the enabling law from which the powers of the legislature to impose taxes arises from can also, within the purview of that law, limit and restrict the powers of the legislature to tax the citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, Article 3, Section 1 and Article 6, Section 21 proves this fact, as the powers of the Congress to tax the citizens are limited. This is also applicable in many other nations of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the implication of this is that the legislative power to tax the citizens can also be limited within the purview of the enabling law from which the power arises in the first place. Moving on to my second standpoint, the economic realities of the general populace. The legislative power to tax the citizens must be assessed vis-a-vis the economic realities of the per capita income or earning power of the general populace. Where the per capita income of the general populace is abysmally low, the legislature cannot impose taxes. For example, Nigeria is the second world poverty capital with a relatively low per capita income. An exercise of the power of the legislature to impose taxes on the citizens will prove to be an effort in futility, since the citizens do not even have the capacity to pay the taxes in the first place. And it defeats the purpose of taxation. I repeat, it defeats the purpose of taxation to render the citizens poor in an attempt to subject them to taxation. On to my third and final standpoint, territorial limitation. The legislative right to tax the citizens is inherently limited by territorial boundaries. The power of the legislature to tax the citizens is not without bounds, as it cannot be exercised outside of the jurisdiction of the state. It is only confined within the jurisdiction of the state, and so it only applies to the citizens within that state. Consequently, the scope of the power of the legislature does not extend to its citizens abroad, specifically in states where they practice resident-based taxation system as against citizenship-based taxation system. Ladies and gentlemen, this means that the powers of the legislature to impose taxes on its citizens is only within the purview, only guides and is applicable to the citizens that are within its territorial jurisdiction and not to its citizens abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, this implies that the legislative power to tax the citizens is without bounds.
Thank you very much, Michael, for that. Well done. So we'll go to your rebuttal, and we're going to invite Oluwafemi to come on again for the rebuttal. You have 1 minute.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, to start with the first point of the powers of the legislature being limited within the Constitution, I think I should bring to the notice of my opponents that the Constitution is simply a piece or a legal framework that is enacted by the same legislature. So which makes me ask the question, can the legislature really be said to be within bounds when the bounds of their powers are controlled by the legislature themselves? I think the answer to that is no. On the other issue of economic realities, he rightly said that Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world, and our realities mean that less taxes should be paid. However, the recent taxes that have been levied by the current government begs to differ, with various taxes including the increase in education tax, the increase in VAT, the introduction of police tax, and the introduction of various other taxes which are already in the bill stage of the National Assembly. All of these are realities that speak to the contrary. And lastly, on the issue of jurisdictional limitation, perhaps my opponent needs to be aware of what we call digital service taxes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Michael, can we have your rebuttal?
Thank you very much. Whilst my opponents may have argued brilliantly, I would like to bring to his attention the trite saying that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Thank you very much.
That's all. Thank you to you both for that. Please exit and join the join the audience on YouTube, and we'll wait your marks. Okay, so before this presentation, we had the second set, Chikwe Chidoze and Faithful Ayo Salako. They didn't give their rebuttal. So if they are available now, can we have the rebuttal before we move on to the third set? Is Faithful and Chidoze here now? We can take their 1 minute rebuttal quickly so that they do not miss their points for it.
Yes, yes, Mutiat. I'm right here with you, and Faithful as well as Michael. I'm sure they would come on shortly. So while we just wait on for them, yes, Chidozie. Yes, I can see Chidozie is on. So while we are with Faithful, yes, I'm sure Faithful will be joining shortly. So while we wait for Faithful, so far I think we've been having a very interesting time out and mind-blowing presentations. No surprise. From the essays, we could tell that they were really doing some great work because it was not that easy to even do the grading. We had excellent performances from the essay participation. So just to note, for the next round, I can see Bram Paul, kindly just note that I would want you to still stay out for a bit. We'll be coming in shortly as soon as we take the next rebuttal. Still waiting on Faithful Ayo. Faithful Ayo should join in shortly before we take Paul and Titilope Ibrahim. I can see that both of them are already on standby. Yes, so we have all complete. Mutiat, over to you, please, for the rebuttal.
Okay, well done, Chizoze. Chizoze, you brought your entire village people on YouTube. They are there psyching you up. Done. I think that probably all the other participants did not get the memo. Share the YouTube link with your friends so that they can come and cheer you on. There are a lot of people here for Chidoze. Okay, Faithful, are you ready? So you have 1 minute for the rebuttal. Faith, I believe Chidoze, you're going first.
Can I start now? Can I confirm? Can you hear me very well? Okay,
I can hear you very well. I can hear you. You can hear.
I can hear you.
Okay, go
So I
ahead.
start in 3, 2, 1. So the opposing counsel have said a lot of things about human rights, but he fails to understand that human rights do not exist in a vacuum. There's a difference between the concept of human rights in paper and the actualization and realization of this concept in reality. And what bridges this gap is taxation, because taxation does not only gives you the resources to enforce these human rights in the first place, it also gives you the right, the entitlement to protest when these rights are not given to you. So there are a lot of examples in society: the Tunisia Arab Spring, the Rosemont Fall Initiative. All these things happen. Black Lives Matter. All these things happen simply because the people felt entitled to the government because the social contract that exists between themselves and the government. So therefore, they have the right to demand of this government what the terms of the contract and the social contract entails. So it's not a one-way thing where people like in Nigeria says education is a privilege. It is a right that must be given to citizens, and that's why South African people went to protest in 2015.
Thank you. Faith will go on.
All right, thank you very much. Can you hear me? All right, so I would like to clarify statements that my opponent made. He said tax is a bridge, and I agree, tax is just a bridge to the fulfillment of human rights. But then he said it means more resources than more rights, and that's wrong. Tax don't help in terms of quantity of human rights; they just help in terms of realization of the quality of them. But I think my opponent fails to understand the context of this debate. The context is not how tax helps the realization of human rights, but if tax is more important than human rights. And since he has rightly said that tax only helps the actualization of human rights, it means tax is just the means to the end of human rights. And since the end is the overall goal, then there is nothing, the means does not have a purpose if the end is not there. And that makes tax more important. That makes human rights more important than tax, because tax only helps to aid the actualization of human rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faithful, for that. Chidoze and Faithful, that was awesome. Thank you. And you do have a lot of fans too. Oh, Faithful, you brought somebody from your village too. Enoch Adido Queen is here, I hope. He's probably like one of your besties. He's here elbowing and okay, so I will thank you to the both of you. It's over to the judges for your marks. And while we're waiting for that, we're going to move on to the third set. And here is a quick tip for all the participants. Do copy the link of the YouTube streaming and share it with your network. Let all your friends come all out to support you. Like Michael's friends are here, Faithful's friends are here. Chidoze has more people here. Imagine if they're going to score you based on your people in the comments. So please share the link. We want more people to be here to watch the debate and also listen to some of the points that we're trying to make with the event. So share your link with your friends and let them come and watch. Share it with everybody in church, in your hostel, wherever it is that you have your people. Let them join us live. So the third set, we move on quickly to the third set. This is the match between Braham Paul and Titi Lokwe B. Ibrahim. Their topic is excessive taxation deters foreign direct investment. Excessive taxation deters foreign direct investment. Van Paul is going to be supporting, while Titi Lokwe B. Ibrahim is going to be opposing. Brian, are you ready to go?
Yes, I am ready.
Just
I'll
before
wish
the
to confirm if I'm being heard.
Yeah, you've been heard. But just before you proceed,
Okay, I'll
kindly take
proceed.
note
May I
in
proceed
case
now?
you were not informed. Just below the bar of your screen, you would see your time stated when you have 1 minute left and when your time is up.
May I proceed
Kindly
now?
take note. Yeah, you may.
Okay, thank you. I'm supporting the motion that excessive tax deters foreign direct investment. Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, good afternoon. It was Oliver Wendell Holmes who stated, United States judge, that tax are what we pay for civilized society. Further, Mr. Chairman, the Organization of Economic Cooperation on Development stated in 2007 that with a 1% increase in tax, it leads to a 3.7 decrease in foreign direct investment. Mr. Chairman, Investopedia defines foreign direct investment as the investment by a company or an investor in a foreign company, and this is usually done to increase influence. Mr. Chairman, I shall be basing my submissions on 3 standpoints. The first standpoint is that high taxes degenerate research. My second standpoint is that there will be no adequate pay for employees because of high withholding tax. And my third standpoint is that high tax payments distort investment companies' growth. I shall begin with the first standpoint. Mr. Chairman, the World Bank in 2019 stated in an article, which is 4 ways low economies can improve tax without hurting growth, that when there are high taxes, investors and companies will not be able to perform research. And research is very paramount for the improvement of the output and the sources of the said foreign company. How can a company that has been subjected to high taxes be able to be able to conduct high researches that demands money to be utilized? I shall move on to my second standpoint, which is when there will be no adequate pay for employees because of high withholding tax. When a company is faced with the prerequisite of having to pay high taxes, this directly affects the employees of this said company. And when it affects the employees of this said company, it simply means that this company cannot pay its employees. And with no employees, it means that there will be no company. I shall move on to my last and final standpoint, which is that high tax payments payments, high tax payment distort investment growth. Mr. Chairman, I wish to emphasize that the World Bank stated in a recent article in 2019, and also the Funded Economic Cooperation Group stated that when there are high taxes, this will in a way affect the company. Mr. Chairman, I wish to put forward, how can a company that has been subjected to the payment of high taxes, how will survive in that set state? Further, Mr. Chairman, there is no country on earth that my opponent can point to this panel and state that it's because of high taxes that is secured a foreign direct investment. And I wish to conclude with the statement of John F. Kennedy when John F. Kennedy stated that the best way to improve investment in a country is, and I state, is to give a low tax, and low tax will increase to high compliance. And by high compliance mixed with a low tax, there will be a high foreign direct investment. And with this, I conclude my submissions for the motion, and which I support, that high taxes deters foreign direct investment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, panel of judges.
Thank you, Graham Paul, for that. Well done. So we'll move on to the opposition, Titilope Ibrahim. She's going to be opposing the topic, excessive taxation deters foreign direct investment. Please go on. You're muted.
Can you hear me and see me clearly?
Yes, I can and see you clearly.
I'll start now. This is October 1994. Adedeji Ibrahim, my father, has got 2 months ultimatum to bring your wife home. As a Yoruba demon, he has 1 Edo girlfriend and 1 Akwa Ibom side chick. After he investigated, he discovered that the bride price of his Edo girlfriend is 2,500 naira only, while the bride price of his Akwa Ibom side chick is 25,000 naira. What do you think he will marry? The judges, worthy opponents, ladies and gentlemen, I am Titilope Balikis Ibrahim, here to speak in opposition of the proposition that excessive taxation deters foreign direct investment, FDIs. In simple terms, FDI is when MultiChoice, a South African company, establishes a branch in Nigeria and owns a minimum of 10% of the stakes in that company. My job here is very simple, to prove to you that the countries with higher tax rates have higher FDIs, and also that there are several factors that deter FDIs in jurisdictions, but excessive taxation is not one of them. To start with, according to the International Monetary Fund, 74% of FDIs can be found in advanced economies and members of the G20, where their tax rate on an average is 26.39%, which is one of the highest for all the groups in the world. This means that the countries with the highest taxes have even higher FDIs, controlling 7% of the world's FDIs. This breaks the golden rule of demand, as in this case, the higher the FDIs, the higher the taxation. Stressing further, I would love to list two of the numerous factors that deter foreign direct investments. The first is a pathetic legal system, and the second is high cost of production. According to Vanguard's Andrew Skipper, an efficient legal system ranks first amongst factors considered by multinationals when making FDI decisions. This encapsulates transparency of the law, anti-corruption policies, independence of the judiciary, and swift legal remedy. These factors are indispensable, as in the 2015 Forbes survey, it was revealed that investors will reduce or withdraw their investments when they discover a terrible legal system in a jurisdiction. Index in Germany, US, UK, and Japan. And these are the same G20 companies that control 74% of the world's FDI. High cost of production, which is caused by the cost of purchasing and transporting raw materials, high wage, and high utility costs. Quick fact, everybody likes a woof, meaning everybody likes free stuff, even foreign investors. In fact, according to Ekel and Kirsten of 2003, foreign investors will jump into jurisdictions that can provide lower cost of production, as this will increase their overall profits and return on investment. The legal system and cost of production are just two of the numerous deterring factors, as according to the IMF, there are other factors including market size, political and macroeconomic stability, GDP, and repatriation of profits. There was no single mention of excessive taxation. In my convincing and brilliant argument, facts have proven and statistics have shown, and I put it to you, that excessive taxation does not deter foreign direct investment. Ladies and gentlemen, this is December 1994. My father has served premium breakfast to his Edo girlfriend and has married his Akwa Ibom side chick, despite her high bride price. Why? She cooks better, she cleans more, she has more money and can manage the family together. And she is very good at dispute resolution when they have conflict. As you can see, my father, just like foreign investors, when other factors are put there, do not mind the taxation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faith. You have a lot of fans in the comment section. Well done, Titulope, for that. Thank you so much. Abraham, that was nice. So we're going to go to your reporter, Abraham. You're going to go first. You have 1 minute to report what she has said. You are muted. Please unmute.
I believe I am not on mute now. May I proceed?
I can hear you. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman and panel of judges, once again, good afternoon. I have 4 points of rebuttal. Firstly, the contention here is taxation and not the issue of marriage. Neither is the issue of girlfriend in contention here, as my opponent has stated. My second point, Mr. Chairman, is that my opponent stated that the higher the tax, the higher the FDI. However, my opponent did not quote any country which has high tax and at the same time has a high FDI. We cannot rely on this particular point that was stated by my opponent. Mr. Chairman, further, my opponent stated that there are other factors like the legal system which account for low FDI. However, Mr. Chairman, the contention here I wish to remind this panel is taxation and not the issue of corruption. Neither is the issue of the legal system in trial here, but the issue of taxation. The question is, does excessive tax lead does excessive tax deters foreign direct investment? And my last point is.
Thank you very much. Yes, your time is up. Thank you. Okay, Titilope, can we have your report quickly? You have 1 minute.
I refuse that this intellectual audience is bamboozled and manipulated by those figures and fallacies just mentioned. This argument is not whether excessive taxation is not the cost of investment, but that it does not stop or deter it. Ladies and gentlemen, the argument that the World Bank claims that higher tax jurisdictions do not have more FDIs is obviously negated by the fact of the International Monetary Fund numbers, which states that 74% of FDIs in the world are in advanced economies. Advanced economies are members of the G20. And I quite mentioned UK, US, Japan, and also the United States of America as a reminder to my opponents. If PSG in 2017 could actually sign Neymar for 222 million euros because his passing, dribbling, and possession skills are 5-star rated, then I understand that foreign investors will also want to pay the high tax when other factors are put in place. Ladies and gentlemen, the argument of my opponent was almost logical, and so my stand remains that excessive taxation does not deter foreign direct investment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ran. Thank you, Titilope, for that. You are excused, and the judges will be the judge of who's done better at convincing them for whatever part you've taken. So the next set, to move on to the next set. I don't know if we have both participants ready, but I am curious. All the people hailing in the comment section. Are you taking away the point? If we ask you, if you throw the topic out to everyone to give us a 30-second report out, would we have anyone volunteer to join us to do this? I must say thank you to you for joining us. Please share the link to the video, to the stream with your network. Rosemont says that she really liked the introduction from Titi. Her storytelling is powerful, so I can imagine that you liked that. And Titi did come with her friends. She came with her friends. This is not to say that Brown's presentation didn't have its merit. It could just be that his friends are busy at Owambe eating amala and co, and they didn't remember that they are supposed to come here to cheer him up. Okay? But really, what I've really learned so far, amazing points have been made all day. In the last 1 hour, we've heard awesome points, great points, really, points that I never really, as a business person, I never really saw it like that, thinking of tax. And but the points have definitely educated me. I hope they have done that for you too. Please share with us what you're learning from all the presentations so far in the comments, so that we're sure that you are going along with us and you're not just here for the placard. Hi, Tim Lane. How has it been for you?
Yeah, it's been real great, and the chat box just leaves me in air. I'm just really really excited because I
It
see
feels
that a
like
lot
a
of people.
football, like a stadium, like a football stadium in the chats.
Yes, yes, it's fans coming on and making their own positions known. But definitely, just as you said, so much takeaway from the topics itself. The topics are quite controversial and very much balanced. So I'm really glad to see the participants dissect these topics with so much
Yeah,
intellectuality. And no doubt, our judges have so much of work to do in bringing forth top finalists at the end of the day. We have the next round speakers ready. I'm sure
you're
Muitatu are
ready.
really happy to hear that. So I'll simply hand over back to you to bring them on and manage
Thank
them.
you very much. Okay, thank you. So the last set for the debate is ready. They are ready, and we have Okafor Lillian in support of the topic. Is the new global tax reform inclusive? Our opponent is Olaro Lokman. Okay, Lillian is here. Lokman is here. Olaro Lokman. Okay, Lillian, can you hear me? Miss
Yes,
Okafor.
I can.
Okay, so Kinsey Lebolisa says that she's watching. Okay, he is watching from New York. Olaro Lokman, can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So let's start. We start with the supporting side. Okay, for Lillian, you go first.
Thank you, ma. I believe you can hear me.
Very well.
Can you hear me, ma? Okay. All right.
Yes, I can hear you very well,
Good
loud
afternoon,
and clear.
everyone. All right. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, panel. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, moderators. My name is Prof. Lilian Chinazebere, and today I'll be speaking in support of the motion. Is the global tax reform inclusive? Is the global tax reform inclusive? This motion comes as a question, and then before I proceed into reading out my points in supporting this motion, I would like to answer in affirmative. Yes, the new global tax reform is inclusive. First of all, let us try to understand what we mean by the new global tax reform. The new global tax reform is negotiated by the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation Development, on the inclusive framework on base erosion and profit shifting. What then is base erosion and profit shifting? Because it is by understanding what base erosion and profit shifting is that will help us understand and assimilate whether the new global tax reform is inclusive. Base erosion and profit shifting is a system whereby multinational organizations try to evade tax, try to strategize to avoid paying tax by moving by moving their jurisdiction from higher tax jurisdiction to lower tax jurisdiction, and so that as to avoid tax payments by deductions such as interest and royalties. The OECD in July 2021 thereby came to try to find a way to curtail these tax evasions and tax avoidance They therefore held withheld the inclusive framework by the OECD through the inclusive framework try to say that they have to find a way to remove tax to find a way to curtail the multinationals from avoiding tax payments. In a new report, the global tax deal, the global financial integrity stated that the the global tax the global financial integrity stated that it is the tax the global financial integrity stated that the key elements and opportunities and challenges of the global financial integrity that it represents a group of people a group of countries that come to find a way to avoid the tax evasion from moving it from higher tax jurisdiction to lower tax jurisdiction. In supporting my motion, giving 3 points in support of my motion. First, the multilateral convention. Second, the existence of the tax treaty. And the third, the global rules, the global anti-base erosion rules. Number one, multilateral convention. The new global tax reform is said to be inclusive because it's made for the multilateral convention, whereby that by the amount A of of which is the all tax removal, it's it is inclusive because the multilateral convention comes in that even when there is no existence of between parties to the framework, that the multilateral convention comes in to help the parties to have a specific jurisdiction that guides them on this base. Therefore, the inclusive framework is inclusive because even when there is no sub-existing treaty between the parties, the inclusive framework brings in the multilateral convention that comes in to guide both parties. Two, the existence of a tax treaty. The inclusive
Your
framework
time is up. Your time is up.
Is the existence.
Lillian, can you hear me? Your time is up.
Tax treaty parties. The parties. Okay, I'll round up. I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on quickly to Lukman Olarungbe for his own presentation. He's going to be opposing the motion.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me, ma?
Yes, I can hear you. Please
Good
go on.
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am by name Olangbe Lukman. My name is Olangbe Lukman Olamilekon. I'm here to oppose the motion which says, is the new global tax reform inclusive? Firstly, we need to understand the question being asked. What they mean by inclusive is that the new global tax reform, does it bring more people to the what? To the tax net. What do you mean by tax net? That the government generates more revenue about the new global tax reform. Firstly, we need to understand what we mean by what? Global tax. Global tax, or a word what? Taxation, is a proposed system for the collection of taxes by what? Central international what? Revenue. I come with my point, which says that the idea has Ghana what? Currency as a means of compelling what? Institution to pay rather than avoid what? Taxes. It has also avoided the era of what? Nationalists as an infringement upon national what? Sovereignty. The good things about the so-called new reform is that it addresses the worst problem of what? International profit taxation. Let's get to know that this flow from the principle of taxing rights from what? Follow the resident of corporate what? Entities. That they may have made sense when value added arose, physical what? Goods production. When value instead reside in intangible services and intellectual property, it is a recipe for what? Abuse. But irrespective of the good aspect of what? The new global reform, I oppose the notion with what? With the bad aspect of it, which says that what? The setback that makes it not inclusive is that the agreements only very what? Partially what? Solve. Partially what? Solve the problem. To few multinational corporations are included, even with a minimum rate, most corporate profits will still be taxed according to the resident what? Principle. The analysis funds will therefore remain to The modest minimum rate, which is 15%, leave in place incentives to shift profits from what? From tax jurisdiction, which therefore have little what? Reason to what? To complain. As you can see, Nigeria has opted out of the global tax deal negotiated under the what? Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. G20 includes what? Framework on base erosion and profit shifting base. The aims of what? The new global tax reform is to curb what it refers as what? Base erosion and profit shifting. BEPS, which is what? Base erosion and profit shifting, refers to corporate tax planning strategy used by multinational to shift profits from higher tax jurisdiction to the what? To the lower tax jurisdiction or no tax what? Location, where there's little or no economic what? Activities. And as we all know, the aim of government is to collect tax in order to finance its what? Its spending. How can we now curb what we mean by what? The new tax reform as a means? And I've also mentioned that profit shifting involves making payments to other group what? Companies in order to move profits from higher tax jurisdiction to lower tax regime. With the following 3 points of mine, I will oppose the motion in which the new global tax is not what? Inclusive. The first thing is what? The structure and operation of what? Of each what? Country. The second one is what? The independence of what? Of the country. And the third is the state has enough what? Capacity. And that's the main reason why Nigeria opted out of what? The new tax reforms in 2020. Thanks.
Okay, are you done? Okay, yes. Thank you for that. Thank you. So the next part of your presentation is the reporters. We're going to go with Lillian first. Lillian, you have 1 minute.
Okay. So I would like to report the position of my opponent by saying that my opponent mentioned that Nigeria opted out of the OECD inclusive framework because it is not inclusive. Nigeria opted out of the global tax deal because it's not inclusive. But I want to point out to him that out of the 140 countries that signed the OECD inclusive framework, that 137 and signed part of the global tax deal. Because did not agree and accept the deal does not mean that the new global tax deal it is not inclusive, because generally it is inclusive. For the mere fact that 137 countries has agreed and signed to it, it's inclusive. It is inclusive and it is encompassing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lukman. We can't hear you. Are you muted?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I would like to counter my opponent that support the motion, in which he says that the new global tax reform. No, can you hear me? I'm not muted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I would like to oppose my opponent by saying that in the fall of 2021, the Nigeria opted out of the new global tax reform, not because it's not inclusive, but I want you to get the point. The aim of the new global tax reform is to bring more people to what? To the tax mix, and which results in what? In what we call what? Multi-taxation. For jurisdiction, there are also special carve-outs for banks and natural resources companies. They are to tax where what? Where they extract their hydrocarbon for the national resources extracted. But nevertheless, the new global tax reforms
the sound is gone.
Like the new global tax reform is not inclusive. Firstly, I said that the structure and operation of what? Of the organization. Let's assume it's inclusive. Why? If it is inclusive, why would Nigeria opted out of it? That's my question. And the second one is the independence of the what? Of the Nigeria country. It's not.
Okay, there was a lapse.
Okay.
So thank
Time
you
up.
very much, Lukman, for that. Thank you. Judging by Lillian's face, if we let the two of you continue, we'll still be here till the end of the day. She wants to give you back again, and then we'll keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But that's not, we don't have time for that. I wish we did, because I would have loved to hear all the back and forth, but we don't. Thank you so much, the two of you, for that. It was beautiful presentations on both sides. Please wait for the judges to tell us who did justice, the most justice, I think, or who did justice more to the topic between the two of you. Kingsley Nebolisa, thank you so much for being here. Choma Jekwe is here. Daniel Ario, William, Jennifer. Who else is here? Thank you all so much for joining this debate. I hope you are learning just as much as I am. Acting David, Favor Divine, of course, the team lead for the planning committee, Rosemond Tiwa is also here. Naomi Kadiri, and all of you in the comment section. Thank you for adding some vibe to the presentations. So the next part, we're done. We are done with the debate. And what is next on our list is to have the judges score the panels, the judges score the debaters, so we can have the winner. And this is I'm pretty sure it won't be an easy task coming up with a winner, because every set had fire, and it's just going to be down to very small points separating the winners, definitely. Timlani, what do you think? You're muted.
But yes, I cannot agree less, because I think you've actually done just a perfect summary of what the judges would have to face at this time. Because at this exact moment, we would be saying thank you to our judges and requesting them to kindly join the link which has been sent to their mail.
Professor Freedman, it is such a delight and honor to be able to speak with you today regarding.
So we'll be requesting the judges to join the Zoom link, which has been sent to their mails for their deliberation. We have a colleague there already who is waiting and standing by. Also, would request participants at this time to now go off and join from YouTube and LinkedIn, where they can continue to follow, because we need to free up this particular platform for the next round of events. After the judges' deliberations, we'll be getting their comments and feedback on the presentation as well as on the topic, and before we proceed to announce the results. So at this time, we would want the judges, we'll kindly request the judges to join the Zoom link, which is already in their mailbox. We call on all judges to do same. I still find that not all our judges have exited the stage, and that's the reason why I'm still making this call. And for the participant also, please, you may now step out and join via LinkedIn and YouTube. Participants who just spoke now would request that you join via LinkedIn and YouTube to follow the remaining round. We would still call on the last judge to please kindly join the deliberation on the Zoom link. I don't know if that has already been done, but I can still see one of our judges still here with us. We'll be calling on you, sir, to kindly join on the YouTube. Lillian would also request that you join via YouTube and continue with the deliberation. Mutiat, what's your take on the topic itself? Let's start from, I think one that catches my attention is the new global tax reform inclusive? I know the speakers have said theirs, but I'm definite that you have your own opinion and position. I think it would be really nice to hear 1 or 2 points from you on that.
Well, I don't want to say that I'm for anyone. I don't want to say that I'm for anyone, but I must say that
I mean, you'll be for everyone if you're not for no one.
I have to be for everyone. I don't want to. This tweet is, if you, are you not seeing the comment section? Like these people, you don't want to
We're still coming
offend
back to the
this one.
comment section. Oh, we're coming back to the
See,
comment section. So
Odo
much is
is
going on there.
already here. There's so many people here that I'm afraid of them. I can't be for anyone. But I must say that I think, there were some that I'm like, oh, it's this person that will win. Oh, and then there were a couple that I can't tell who will win, and the judges, I'm grateful I don't have their job right now. One of the things I will say is that I have learned a lot from the presentations. Tax is one of those things small business owners like myself do not like to talk about, and to actually be at the center stage talking, having to listen to the point from both sides, amazing, amazing. uh well done to Lillian and Lukman for that. So, is the new global tax reform inclusive? What do you want me to say? Of course, I would say no. Did not consider people like us. I would say I would not. I think when I look at the topic, I would naturally say no. Then you hear the argument, and you're like, okay, okay. Uh, I must give it to all the speakers. They really did their research. Like salute to all of them, and all the numbers. Uh, when Titulokwe and Van were on, Van is all about the numbers. Titulokwe is like, no, 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 numbers don't matter. I want. What are you saying? Numbers matter. People will pay more. And then she gave us analysis. That beautiful story about her father choosing the woman who can cook more. But then
Yeah.
again, it's like where your father was getting married in the 90s. See, in this 2000s, I don't know if you've gotten the memo. Sometimes the cooking and co is not doesn't matter a lot again. Oh, people are like
That
downsizing
was
their
the
cooking.
90s. That was the 90s. So I think
That
it's
was
not
the
again.
90s. That was the 90s, and men would
I,
marry
and
because
that was when they were
women
discussing on the topic. That was when they were discussing on the topic excessive taxation
excessive
deters foreign
taxation
direct
deters
investment.
foreign direct investment. But they were both. They so all. I think that to a great extent, both speakers for each of the topics were actually very convincing. Like one moment you want to agree with this person, and then the next person comes and you're like, shall I agree with this person? So they were really convincing. So I would say
All
that
right.
excessive taxation, one moment, of course, looking at it, excessive taxation would chase anybody away. Then again, Tislokwe came and told us about Nima being bought by PSG, and I'm like, Tuto, then that's true. If the economy can
Yeah.
dribble like Nima, I'm ready to pay. I'll make the money to pay the tax. The taxes. So that's
Great
also that.
illustration there. Great illustration. At this point, Mutiat, I would request that we take a quick shift into another very important aspect of today's event. While we're still coming back to talk on the topic, as well as some of the very wonderful comments we can see here, we'll be calling on the audience to put their short and summarized thoughts on the four topics which has been spoken on here in the chat box. We'll be putting that live and looking at how we are taking our thoughts on the topic individually, especially as persons who are concerned with the issue of taxation in one way or the other. But most importantly, we have with us at this time the Emeritus Professor of Tax Law and Policy, University of Oxford, in whom this debate is being held in honor of, in person of Professor Judith Freedman. And it's quite an honor to have her right here. And for that reason, we'll be immediately requesting that she comes up on stage, and some words from her would be really pleasant this beautiful afternoon here in Nigeria. And would like to take a comment on the topic itself. I know if we want to take a full presentation, we have so much to learn because Prof is not just a prof, but an emeritus professor of the subject of tax and policy. So definitely we have so much to learn, but we'll take a few comments in the shortest time possible before the judges come back. Prof Ma, over to you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Loud
ma'am.
and clear.
Yes. Well, I managed to listen to most of those debates, and I was really impressed by the passion with which everybody spoke about tax and how interested they were and how much work they've done creating their presentations. There were some lovely techniques, and each one of them brought something very special to the debate. So I thought they were great. I thought the best ones were those who really stuck to the subject. So I would say the key is to stick to your subject, to have a clear argument. Quotes and facts and figures are really good, but you have to harness them and bring them to bear on the argument. But I really did think that everyone did very well. I was interested in the topics that had been chosen and how people felt, because we in the UK have some different perspectives, and I expected some very different perspectives, but it was good to hear that the debates were actually very similar from your participants to the ones that we have in our MSc classes and so on. So they are really universal debates. We don't really have answers to all these things, but it's important that we discuss them, and really very, very honoured that you named the debates after me, because that was a lovely thought. So I'm excited to hear from the judges and to see who wins.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much once again. And it's quite a pleasure for you to be the one in honor of whom this debate has been held. It would only have very few options other than your lovely Selma. Mutiat, I don't know, do you have any comments for Emeritus Professor before she stays back and continue to enjoy?
I'm just honored to be in the presence of giants. Thank you so much for your comments, Ma. Definitely, even the audience noted the advice. Thank you. Thank you.
Really grateful, man. You just heard from Emeritus Professor of Tax, Law and Policy, University of Oxford, Professor Judith Freedman, in whom today's debate was held in honor of. And most importantly, just as one of the audience picked it, stick to the subject, very good advice. That's a very important point, because Prof just spoke on not just speaking about facts, quotes, and on, but also staying within the subject. Specifically, she also referenced it in line with the MSc students and the fact that the topics are universal, and we see very similar arguments across the board. But I don't know. I wouldn't ask you to speak again, because after Prof has spoken on the topic, you shouldn't speak more.
I think that what I may add is that, just to be very clear, that point, so that we can make Prof's points very relative, so that we can all relate to it. One of the things that people get wrong with debate is that a lot of people will be in the audience hailing the person with the loudest voice, the one who has the most energy. You know how the person will go, but content is 30% of the point. It's 30% of the point. The that we are all going about, like, the big voice and all of that, they're under, I think it's under, for this particular debate, is about 10 points, under the 10-point thing. So if you do not stick to the subject, but your voice is loud and you have charisma, you may not necessarily win. And I think that's what I would add to buttress Prof's point. We must understand that sticking to the subject is key. It is the key. This is like the most important element of any presentation. Achieving the goal that you set out to achieve, which is to educate or enlighten your audience in one particular topic. So no matter how loud or how much charisma or how awesome your body language is, if you're not saying, it's like somebody who's saying nonsense but has a great voice and everybody's hailing, they're just hailing for hailing's sake. Really, the primary audience are the judges, and what they are looking for is how amazing your points are. So that's what I would add.
Thank you very much, Mutiat. Trust me, looking and scrolling through the comments, which we can see also on the thing, you would get to see that it was a real audience, that we had a handful of them. and they did so great, cheering on and also, I'm sure, picking the points as rightly stated. Just to bring us all up to speed, this is the Global Tax Debate, which is one of the activities lined up for the Taxpayers Conference 2022, organized by the Tax House. The theme for this year's conference, being the second, having held the first last year, this is the second conference organized by the Tax House. And the theme for this year is boosting taxpayers' morale globally, our role. Basically saying that we have a role in boosting taxpayers' morale globally, our role as taxpayers, as tax authorities, as members of the legislative houses, as members of the executive arm of government, including the judiciary. I think we all have a role to play if taxpayers' morale must be boosted globally, not restricting it to any specific jurisdiction. The conference is going to be online and it will hold from 11th to 12th of July 2022. Definitely you're invited and you are expected to come and continue in enjoying this very pleasant exchange of intellectual understanding and thought. We will do no further than look back and see if we have some comments on the topic in the chat box. If you have any comments on the topic itself, you could just drop it immediately.
So there's a comment from LinkedIn.
Okay. So this is a point. This point is quite, I wouldn't say controversial, but also quite interesting. Charity M.A. Fagade says, I wish tax when paid is used for the purpose for which it is paid.
You don't know until you pay it. I think the first thing is you won't know until you pay it.
True, you won't know until you pay it, but still.
So that's right. So that's the nice way. I think that's the politically correct thing to say. Charity, you will know until you pay, but I think that's something that's the kind of. I remember when I went to business school, and I was sitting. I went to EDC, the entrepreneurship arm of the LBS, and I was sitting in class, and they were telling us to pay tax by fire by force. And this was the same. This was a sentiment. This sentiment shared by Charity was the sentiment of practically everyone in class, particularly because the lecturer said, "Our tax is 30% of what 30% or something like that." I was like, 30% of what? You mean if I make 100,000 naira, I owe the country 30,000 naira? And at that point, I know that as a business person in Nigeria, I'm like my own local government. I am the one giving myself electricity. I'm the one pumping water for myself and doing all of that. Why do I give the government a chunk of my profits if I'm still governing myself? So that's the sentiment Charity has. But then I think it's almost 10 years since that course. And as you go, you get to see certain things. And I'm like, okay, maybe we should pay it. Maybe we should. And see what they will do with it. That's my sentiment now.
Okay. I wouldn't go down into taking a position. Our judges are currently deliberating. If they were to be here, I would have gone on with my response. So they would also get to judge us also.
Oh, so you set a trap for me. So I took a position.
Not exactly.
Wow. But my own is not really a position.
Oh, well, it would stand as a position for now. But quite interestingly is the fact that the build up to this particular debate, we had several entries from several students in different universities in Nigeria and generally. And they were made to write on a topic, how to build trust in the tax ecosystem, echoes from my jurisdiction. This comment is one that goes down to that particular write-up. And I was privileged to see some of those essays. And I can tell you for real that we really have persons, even as students, who understand the problem with taxpayers' non-compliance as well as viable solutions to some of those things. I think the question is down to implementation, but not really going or diverting down to all of that. Let's take more comments from the judges. We can see how your DJ Luande says tax has no specific purpose, and he goes on with a lot of other points. It's seeming like a debate between your DJ and Charity now in the chat box. Unfortunately, they are from different platforms, but they are seeming to be responding to each person's comments
But
unknowingly.
I love Ayodeji made this amazing point that I like, that you cannot determine what your tax is funding. So I think that's his own rebuttal for Charity, or maybe something that I said about how it is unfortunate that we still have struggles with basic amenities, and it makes me feel like, why do I owe you when you're not even doing the basic for me? But then he is saying that as much as that is true, we can't specific purpose in the sense that you can't actually determine what your tax is funding. And that's a new one. That's definitely a new perspective. And it takes us to one of the topics, right? I think there's a topic about how government is as a law. Government has the, is it the first or the second topic? There's
Okay,
the
the legislature's rights
first,
to tax the citizens as no
so tax
bounds.
citizen has no bound. So Ayodeji's point is definitely one to be added to that. It has to support that topic. It has no bound, and they can do as they like with us.
Just to make a quick comment again, the presenters for today were put on a very tight spot because it was regardless of their personal opinion or former take, they were made to speak on topics and give insights. I think it shows a lot of charisma on their part, a lot of ingenuity on their part, and a lot of intellectual capacity to be able to carry out specific research and come out with clear positions, such as they've done this afternoon, regardless of where they stand. And that's what makes the beauty of such an engagement like this. And we have Charity's comment also saying people living in low developed areas pay tax, and same is used to develop highbrow areas, leaving the developed areas for underdevelopment. Wow. Well. Let's take a further comment. Let's not take
I
too
do
much
not
comment.
think I agree with you, Charity, unless you are not in Nigeria. Like, to collect tax for, yeah, people pay, but the people pay. I would say that the people who really pay tax in low-brow areas are maybe people that are selling stuff, and the local government collect money from them. Otherwise, you won't have a space to sell, or people who have shops, and nobody wants to risk that, so they will pay. But the attitude of, oh, this is hard to say. The attitude of Nigerians to tax and levies, no, I do not agree. I do not agree that low people pay. In fact,
I'll be forced to comment on this because what exactly is the point you're making on this position? Are you saying Nigerians don't like to pay tax, or people generally don't like to pay tax?
see, okay, so am I saying it? I'm asking you, am I saying it? What are you hearing? You
That's
are
what I
trying to
think.
play safe and get me
I
in
think the
trouble.
audience would tell me what they heard, but I think I got a position of what I heard. I
So
quite don't agree
we
with
have to
that.
be honest with ourselves. It's not easy, it is not easy for an average person to let go of their added money. Even if you feel like government is entitled to some of it according to the law, it's really not easy. Like, you don't see your money go away to someone else. It's easier said than done. And when she says that the poor people or low people in low brow area pay the tax and then they use it to develop the eyebrow area, I do not agree. I think that the people in highbrow area actually pay the FT sum of the tax. And this is why. So for instance, let me give you an example. I live in Ikeja, which is the central business district. We have of the different the power bill. We get the we are paying the highest form of what's the word? We pay the highest subscription for power compared to every
Tariff, right?
other place. They call us band A people. Now, the only advantage, they say, oh, we get more light than every other area, but we're paying a hefty sum. I think I pay about 55 naira per unit. And then there are places in this country, in this Lagos, they're paying 35 naira. So when you come to Ikeja, you may not see any pothole, And then you say that, oh, they've collected money from Egbeda to give Muti a pothole-free place. I do not agree. Muti is paying almost 50% more than somebody in Band C or so is paying. And I must say that the first week that that law was enacted, I was angry. And then I was angry and I went into my WhatsApp group of my university alumni group and I was ranting. And do you know what half of the people said? They literally said, God catch you. Shebi, you are rich. And rich people should pay the buck now. And I felt hurt. I felt very hurt. Like they were literally saying that rich people don't deserve empathy. Or I felt hurt. And it really showed that what you are saying about poor people, people in low bar area paying, no, it's not true. Given the response that I got, a lot of them are not paying anything, and they are very happy to have those of us, the few of us in the other side, pay it on their behalf, and their excuse is that maybe you people have money, and it wasn't fair. It didn't seem like fair, especially because I'm not so different from one of them. It's just it is what it is that brought me here. So it wasn't fair.
Wow.
So that's my
Mutiat,
argument.
you said a lot. You said a lot that if I would want to really respond to individually, just as I told Lillian, we would end up not ending those debates today. So permit me to just do a quick introduction again of the conference, which will be taking place from 11th to 12th. We have a number of speakers who are lined up, and it's a conference you don't want to miss out from. We have Mr. Omar Ali, a tax officer, Authority Ministry of Finance. We also have on the list Mr. Graham Tilbury, Head of Tax Technology Advisory, FTI Consulting. We also have amongst the lineup Mr. Daniel A. Witt, President, International Tax and Investment Center. We also have amongst that particular list Mr. J.D. Choi, Tax Technologies Incorporation. We have Mr. John W. Mfoa, Associate Researcher, African and Middle East IBFD. We have Mr. Jones Oluwatobi Wojola, SA to ECFIRS on Media and Communications. Mr. Ryan Alas, President, Tax African Network, amongst others. It's a conference you don't want to miss out from. It's one that would address tax issues on a global level, and one that would definitely bring about a lot of direction when it comes to taxation from the side of the speakers themselves, as well as from the side of the authorities, who all will be coming together to tell us exactly what's the issue. How can we boost the morale of taxpayers in the world as a whole, being a global debate and not a regional or localized conference. Yes, I can see that we are being called on to still address some of the comments. So I think we should just read off some of these comments so we don't get to be cited.
Charity has replied me, I think. And it is, I agree with this one. I can't even argue this one. I agree, a great part.
So Charity says, Nigerians actually pay taxes. For hard working people are made to pay tax as it is deducted from the salaries, but the rich elite evade taxes and nothing happens except tax payment cuts across all classes and is adequately properly used. The average Nigerian will always frown at tax issues. Okay, without taking any comments, I think we'll look at what Ayodeji has been saying in a trail of thoughts. He says specific purpose in the sense that you can actually determine what your tax
that
is
was what
funding.
I was reading.
Yes, it says, well, Mutiat, that is a function of government failure. Unfortunately, tax is a revenue generating platform. Basically, he goes further to say development is relative, and that's a response to charity. He also says if rural areas are giving electricity, it is development to them. He goes further to also say tax paying apathy. I guess that's a response. We have Enoch, who also agrees with Mutiat. I totally agree with Mutiat, Enoch Adedokun. In that sense, since we're having people who are supporting Mutiat, I'm sure I'll have my audience supporting me very soon also.
They are not support because Muchat is
I
trying
mean,
to. Muchat is not particularly being. But
no,
really,
it's
I
okay.
think that as much as I agree with Charity's last comment, I think that it is also a blanket statement. It doesn't. It is a. It doesn't. The reality is that there are more elites that are paying than we know, and most poor people that you're talking about are mostly civil servants. The government can has so much that can remove their that can remove their tax immediately. But a lot of us are actually paying it. We pay it in different ways, that more ways than we know. And I also think that maybe if the tax authorities are more open with some of this information. For instance, people assuming that most rich elites are evading tax. I do not think it is in its entirety. That part of your statement is true. In its entirety. I mean, I'm sure that people like Tax House will probably not have a business if all the elites are not paying their taxes, like all the tax lawyers and tax consultants, and there are more tax lawyers, tax accountant, tax consultant that you will be shocked that out there, and not most of them will not have businesses if the middle class upward are not paying their tax, because that's where the real money is really. So I as much as that is true, the narrative that we have is leaning towards this your comment. I do not agree that in its entirety it is true. There are people that are definitely evading taxes. I mean, there are a lot of people doing everything to reduce how much they pay in tax. It's like that's what practically everyone is trying to do. However, are they paying it? Yes. Are they paying the exact thing that is written down on paper by law? Maybe not. But they are definitely paying.
Okay,
That's
just a quick one to mention a bit of the universities from which the participants of today proudly represent. Would give would make a few mention of universities, or rather, a quick rundown of universities that actually submitted entries for the essay. We have University of Ilorin, we have Bayero, University Kano, we have Nnamdi Azikiwe, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Kwara State University, University of Port Harcourt, University of Abuja, University of Benin, Obafemi Awolowo University, University of Ibadan, Lagos State University, amongst others. And it was from this list that we had our 8 participants picked out from. And trust, I would say once again, having had the privilege to see the essays, we had world-class entries. But definitely, not everyone can be up on stage to do this debate. And that's why we just have to pick a selected few to represent the larger number. And I could also see that a few of those who put in their entries were on call to follow up the debates. Great spirit of sportsmanship there. And I'm sure you're able to pick out 1 or 2 from all that has been done so far. Shortly, we would be moving on to getting the judges' comments, as well as taking the announcements from the organizers towards knowing who our winners are for today's competition. Just a quick one, one name that has not been said so far, a very important name when we talk about the conference, when we talk about the debates, when we talk about a lot as a whole. I know this was not requested, but I don't see how we can do this without making these comments. We know that there is a face behind the tax house, the organizers of today's event. And while that face remains at the back stage for so long, and just watch and ensure that all is being put in place night and day, I think it's quite important to also recognize the partner of the tax house in person of Mr. Olajide, who has been a great motivation and who is having this vision and running through it. Well done, very much, sir. Right about now, we'll be taking a video. I would like you all to sit back and follow through. Hopefully, we have all sorted at this point. Please, the video can go up.
Professor Freedman, it is such a delight and honor to be able to speak with you today regarding your tax career. I mean, I think when people think of corporate taxation or international taxation, your name is amongst the top of the list as a giant in this area. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm not sure about all of that, but it's very lovely to be with you all.
So let's start discussing your road to Oxford. My first question for you is, why did you decide to specialize in corporate tax, international tax? What particularly drew you to the area, and what do you love about it?
Well, when I was in practice, I really enjoyed tax because it was an area where I could get my teeth into something very meaty. Many other areas, because I was a solicitor rather than a barrister, it was really a lot of work that was with standard forms or dealing with clients, and I preferred not to be with the clients but to be with the books, to be honest. And so in tax I felt I was a bit more left alone, so I developed a bit of an expertise in tax in a small firm when I was training, and then moved to Freshfields, which is a big London city firm, where I went to the corporate tax department, and that's where I began to learn about corporate tax. So I didn't study tax at university. It wasn't available when I was at university, and therefore I feel I've come a very hard way to tax, but I really learned it in practice.
That's fantastic. And I think your story tracks with many other stories I've heard from other tax practitioners, that they just kind of fell into tax, but that the occasion was a happy one for them. So my next question for you is, what prompted you to enter academia from Freshfields?
As I said, I liked books a lot more than people, and I was better suited, I think, to an academic career. It was also pretty tough in practice when I was in practice in the early 1980s or late 1970s. I was the only woman in the department for a long time. It really was very, very hard. I couldn't back on it. I think maybe I shouldn't have given in, but it was honestly very hard without any other women. And but I don't want to make that a negative story, because I also positively wanted to study tax and to be learning about tax, and I felt I could do that better as an academic anyway.
I hear that. Now, within your experience at Freshfields, I mean, from your observation, do you believe that you were the only woman because women weren't encouraged to enter tax, or that they felt intimidated by the area, or that they weren't encouraged to practice tax law in a corporate setting?
It honestly wasn't only tax. There were very few women solicitors in big city firms anyway in those days. I don't think tax is particularly discouraging, and I think actually many women do like tax and are very good at tax. So I don't think that was the problem. I think it was a more general problem of big city firms, and the whole setup was not and still is not really very encouraging for women, particularly women who want to have a family, unfortunately.
Right. Yes.
It's a lot better than it was, and great strides are being made, but could be better.
I hear that. Now, you were definitely instrumental in making tax at Oxford what it is today. So I'm hoping that you can walk me through the process of deciding to create the two big programs that you had a hand in. So the Center for Business Taxation, and then also the Master of Science in Taxation.
Okay, well, I came to Oxford in 2001, so I'd already been teaching tax at the London School of Economics for 20 years by the time I went to Oxford. The opportunity came up to apply for a chair in Oxford. The chair was sponsored by KPMG. They were quite forward looking, I think, in believing that there wasn't enough tax teaching going on in the UK. I applied in the normal way. I was not a KPMG employee or anything like that. I was it was all completely above board and done according to normal academic rules. So the name KPMG did not fetter me in any way. It was simply that they were very generously providing the funding. Having got to Oxford and having been elected to the chair, and
All right, that was a short interview from the recording done with Professor Judith Freedman, and we also had her speak earlier on. We also had her speak earlier on. Now, we have our judges back, and we must first of all start by saying thank you so much to our judges, and they've been exceptional, having to stay up with us all through this period, despite several time zones, and them still keeping up with our timing. They've been very, very cooperative. We've disturbed them at different times, done quick calls even without prior notifications, and they've always been accommodating to us. We use this opportunity to say thank you to them, and we see that they're now back with respect to the judge, with respect to the results of the debate, having had their deliberations. I wasn't in that deliberation, so I won't be able to say much, but I'm sure it must have been so great. Before we take the comments of the judges, we'll bring on the head of this particular committee that ensure that this activity today is a success, in person of Rosemond, to give us a few comments. Then we'll introduce each of the judges to come up and make their comments on the participation of the participants, their delivery, as well as quick comments on the topics itself, any topic of choice, knowing full well that we can't allow the judges to speak on each of the topics for the sake of our time. And even though I know they have so much intellectual capacity to do so, and they will have so much knowledge to share with us on each, but we just won't be able to do all of that at once. So over to you, Rosemond. Thank you, Mutiat. Let's allow Rosemond to have the floor for now.
Thank you. Can you hear me? All right, great, fantastic. It was quite an interesting session with the judges. I'm just here to just introduce, of course, they're just going to say one or two words. I would, on behalf of the judges, be making the announcement. However, I know that some of them are already backstage and just wanted to talk. I think it's important that we hear from the lips of the judges some of the things that they heard, some of the things that they experienced. So after just very short comments from them, I would be doing the honors to announce the top three. So of course, as we all know, this is an inter-school debate, and we had, of course, conversations and talks from each of the representatives of the schools, and of course we had 8 debaters in total. And of course, the criteria, which is very, very important, that I need to mention. Yes, we had, of course, the assessment based on the content of the presentation, the persuasiveness of the argument, clarity and organization of thoughts, the use of authorities to support arguments, ingenuity and poise, and strength of rebuttals. These were the various criteria that we used to actually assess the participants. So we have the judges who would, each of the judges would just come give very short comments. At least you get to see them and get to experience what it is to actually have feedback from global thought leaders as far as each of these debate topics are concerned. So over to you, Timmy. We can bring the judges up, of course, to talk about some of what the things that they experienced. And after they do that, I'll do well to announce the winners. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rosemont. With in no particular order, just as listed right here, we would come with bringing up, first of all, Kelly Phillips for comments.
So I thought overall it was fantastic. Can you hear me?
Very well, loud and clear.
I thought overall it was fantastic. I was really impressed. I just have a couple of quick pointers or comments, and obviously when we discussed backstage, everybody had favorites and favorite moments. But I will say that I thought that those that were really well researched, you could tell. I know something that came up over and over was the citing of sources and how important that was. So I thought that was really well done overall. I will say that I thought that the rebuttals, and I just say this as somebody who loves a good argument, the rebuttals were, I thought, also well done. In particular, I thought that Faithful, you could tell he took really good notes because he came out of the gate with rebuttals with a list. And I think that's smart. And then the last thing that I would just say overall that impressed me, so I'm a tax attorney. I've argued in court, but I also spend a lot of time in journalism, having been a senior editor at Forbes and now at Bloomberg. And one of the things that I think matters is how you tell a story. And so two of the folks who I thought were particularly effective with that is, and if I'm going to say his name wrong, I apologize, but Olawafemi. I actually had a note that I could have listened to him all day. I thought his pacing was really wonderful. I thought his presentation was really nicely done. And then also Titi, as a storyteller myself, because that's how I write a lot of my pieces, is try to relate it to something. I loved that she immediately explained to us the story that was going to carry through her debate. I know that that it was something that was brought up in the rebuttal as potentially not effective, but as a judge, I thought it was incredibly effective. It resonated with me and it made me want to listen to the whole thing really carefully. So overall, again, I thought that the presentations were really well done. And I also thought that one of the other folks that actually made an impression on me was Chikwe. Because he actually, one of the things that when I was listening, I thought he spoke a little fast, but I liked that he brought up statistics. I didn't always agree with them, but I actually felt like he was another example of somebody who had done their homework. So again, I thought that overall the presentations were really well done, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm grateful for folks taking their time to share with us.
Thank you very much, Kelly Phillips. Really appreciate the quick comments. We'll take Kisinga Kiperk. I hope I got it right. My apologies if I did make an error on that.
So hello, greetings from Croatia. So my name is Ksenia. So, and of course I had listened very well all the debates, and I very appreciate, and I think that is a great work of every of participants. I'm lecturer at Faculty of Law in Zagreb, and I work for Ministry of Finance a really long time. And I had in my career, and I have today, a lot of young people who are tax advisors and work with me. So I like, first of all, I said taxation is in taxation, the knowledge is very important. So we have to educate ourselves every day. So I educate myself every day. And actually 10 minutes, of course, are not enough to emphasize all the things in these great topics. So topics were very interesting, and I will say pretty hard. So if we are talking about taxation and human rights, that's a really hard topic. And also 3 next topics, for example, global tax reform or global taxation today. So I really appreciate the passion of your of the participants, and I wish the best luck in the future, because I think that all deserves a really great future in taxations. And I would emphasize that in your work, that's for all participants, that your work and should be proactive. You can have the visions. So we professors are not always right. So everything can be changed. So especially today in this digital era. So, and you have to be brave for your solutions and for your ideas to bring that in life. So every support, every wind on the back to all participants. So everyone was really great in these topics. So we will see the results, but that is just one result. But I wish you all of you all the best in the future as a tax advisors or tax professors. So you never know. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate great comments and nice feedback to the participants. I'm sure they will pick that and get to put it in good use. All right, right about now, I'll bring on the next judge for a comment. We'll be calling on Man Gadi.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Tax House, for this opportunity. I think the time that I spent this afternoon listening to the participants, it was very, very beneficial, not only to us as the judges, just to listen to you guys, but I'm sure everyone that was listening to you. And also, I just want to say thank you for availing yourself and being brave. I think debate is something else that some people, they will even feel challenged by just looking at the topics. And for me, I think looking at the topics, these were very great topics. There were some that I felt that they were difficult topics, and I think it must have not been easy for the participants to take on some of those topics, but I think what I enjoyed more, and without really trying to focus on one topic, but looking at the topic of excessive taxation deters foreign direct investment. I think for me, for this topic, looking at it, especially for someone who has to be in opposition of it, it can be quite a challenge. And I really liked how Titi brought in other factors, rather than just focusing on the text, but, bringing in the sources in terms of when the foreign investors comes in the country, what do they look at, and for her giving us other factors, in order to support her argument. I think that was great. And I also enjoyed the rebuttals. Like I can just mention the rebuttals on the legislation's right to tax the citizens has no bounds. So I just liked the how the two participants has argued on that, with one saying that there are limits because taxes are more governed by the by the government, by the local governments or the governments, or the governments are only restricted within the jurisdictions, you know. And I like the response from Oluwafemi when he mentioned the digital services tax. So I think for me, one thing that I've learned is that is the arguments that you bring, you know, more than anything. It's the arguments that you bring that will set you apart, and the sources that you use that also shows that you really have prepared on this. And but not to say anything much, I just want to congratulate all of you for taking part on this. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mangadi. Great comments and positive feedback for the participants to really take on. And thank you for the congratulations to the participants. Now we'll be taking on the next would be Afolabi Elebichu.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Tax House, for coming up with this very nice initiative. And I would like to commend the participants, because this has provided very good intellectual exercise. And we have also learned. So it's not just been you that your preparation must have, you know, given you a lot of learning, refine some things, but we that were also judges, we've also learned listening to you. So I would like to commend everyone for all the energy that has been invested in preparing for this conference, for this debate. I mean, many of the comments I want to make has already been made, so I would not like to repeat them. But one thing I would like to say is that just by virtue of participating, you're already winners. Everybody is a winner. I know the results will be eventually announced, and there are going to be only 3 people who are, you know, the top 3. But everybody, just by participating, you're already winners. The second point I want to make is to say that you can take all your ideas, you know, that you've used in this debate, you can take them forward, you know. There are some positions that have been more difficult to argue than others. But irrespective of that, especially, you know, let's assume a position you would take, you know, was actually the opposite that you argued. That still doesn't stop you from taking further discourse on this issue further forward by, say, for example, doing further research to write an article on any element of your arguments that you think, you know, you want to discuss further. And that will benefit a wider audience than even the people who have participated or listened to this conversation. And just to illustrate, you know, this topic about foreign excessive taxation deters foreign investors, the flip side of it can be that, okay, tax incentives, you know, attract foreign investment. And of course, one can argue from now till tomorrow, you know. So, and the thing is that, okay, a lot of research has been done, a lot of conversation has been going on in this area. So you may want to contribute to that conversation. And I want to, you know, that's how I want to encourage all the participants to consider if they want to write an article, you know, just related to the topic they've argued for or against, you know, in this debate. So again, thank you very much. I think everyone is a winner. We've learned, and thank you. It's been a pleasure being on this program.
Thank you very much, sir. We are really grateful, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
We would not forget to talk about the facts that we've had a successful event today. And it's going to be really great to know who the winners are. I'm not trying to keep in suspense the participants, but I'm already in that mood with them. And that's why I'm really much more sober now, because at the end of the day, 3 persons would have to emerge as first, second, and third. While others, we know that they put up a good fight, and indeed, they are winners in the long run. Rosemond, before I call you up to make the final comments, just for the sake of the judges, while appreciating you once more, I'd like you to also know that Emeritus Professor Judith Freedman is on with us, and she earlier made a comment that is Professor in your honor. The global tax debate is held in honor of. She's right here with us, and she's followed the event so far, and we're really grateful to you, Ma, for joining us. It's about that time when we would now call Rosamond. Please do the honors.
All right, so my heart is doing good. I'm a bit excited, and but before I make my announcement, very quickly, I would also love to say that one of our judges, Katrina, is also with us, and she also made very interesting comments about the presentation. She was very impressed and very pleased, and of course, she tendered our own comments and suggestions as to how each participant did, which of course has been summarized by all our amazing judges who have actually given their comments as well. So, okay, so another thing I also say, sorry, I'm putting a lot of tension in the atmosphere, but yes, let's talk about the incentives and some of the perks that each of the participants stands to gain as a result of actually, putting in the work. We have IBFD, who will be giving book gifts to the winners of this debate competition. And I'm very happy to announce that we're going to be having internship slots at the law barristers and solicitors from our judge who just spoke, Mr. Afolabi. We'll be having internship slots for the winners of this competition. And also we have collaborations with the European Business University, and we are working towards actually giving certification scholarships to each of the winners and of course the participants in this competition. And of course, you're going to have direct pairing with mentorships, mentors who are going to actually, be offering their personal advice and guidance for each of the competitors and of course the winners. So you can see that everybody here is a winner and there is nobody who will not get something out of this. Okay, so I'm thinking I should have like a proverbial drum roll. I'll be announcing the results from of course, the second runner-up, the first runner-up, and of course the winners. So please, can we have comments in the comment section? Let's see people who are rooting for their candidates. I need to see the YouTube comments so that, let me see the expectation there. All right. So the second runner-up for the 2022 Taxpayers Conference, we have none other but Olufemi coming second runner-up. Please, let's celebrate him. Let's celebrate him. Congratulations to you, Olufemi, for coming second runner-up. And then, of course, the first runner-up of the first runner-up for this particular debate goes to none other. But I'm not saying the comments, so guys, goes to none other but Michael Okwobi. Congratulations, first runner-up, congratulations, and leaving our winner. So who is our winner, guys? Can I see some predictions? Going on? Right? Okay, so the winner, let me draw my seat. The winner for the Taxpayers Conference 2022 goes to me. I'm particularly proud of this one. Goes to none other but Titi Layo. Please celebrate her. Congratulations for being the winner of the Taxpayers Debate 2022. We celebrate you. Congratulations, Titi. We celebrate you. So, like I said, Olufemi, third runner, second runner-up, Michael Okwobi, first runner-up, and of course, Titi as our winner. So yes, that's my assignment for today. Congratulations, everyone, and I celebrate you. I celebrate everyone.
Thank you very much, Rosamond. You've done an excellent job. It's quite not an easy one to call out of 8, just 3. At least they now know who to actually face if they have questions. But truthfully, I think you've done a great one. And just before we draw the curtain, for the day, since we still have Emeritus Professor online with us, would plead with to do the vote of thanks for the judges before calling back Rosemont to close up for us. Prof. Ma would like you to do the vote of thanks to our judges, our esteemed judges, who found time to be with us today.
Yes, well, I would like to thank the judges and all the participants. This was a splendid event and really well organized. I'm amazed at how well one can do these things and how well the IT works now. It was an afternoon full of passion about tax and lots and lots of people becoming involved and being prepared to give up their time. So many thanks to the judges. There's a wedding going on in my college. I'm sitting in college in Oxford here, and you can probably hear the music. So it's a very joyous occasion, and I think that's appropriate. I think you should all go off and congratulate you, the winners, and those who didn't actually formally win, but I think you were all winners because you all did a great job, and I'm sure that you're going to benefit greatly from the comments that you had from the judges. And the winners will have these wonderful opportunities given to them for sponsorship, which is just amazing. So it's a wonderful event, and thank you so much for mentioning me in the title. As I say, I feel very honoured.
Thank you very much, Ma. Once again, we say thank you. Now, I would call on Rosemont to bring today's event to a close. We definitely have had a successful one. All true, and it's really glad that we have to bring this to an end at this point. We wish we could keep going, but we can't keep going. We have to call it a day at some point, and it's now the time of the day when we have to say goodbye. Don't forget the announcements, the Tax House Conference 2022, 11th to 12th of July. It's going to be online. You would see the notifications. You can always come back to Tax House page on YouTube as well as LinkedIn and follow the conference. It's going to be amazing. You don't want to miss out. Over to you, Rosemont.
All right, thank you very much. And once again, they say everything that has a beginning must surely have an end. We started planning this conference months back, and we are so super glad that we've been able to consummate as well as do a lot of things, which includes this amazing debate which has just occurred. And we are just super grateful. We are very thankful to the organizers, especially our host, the Tax House Nigeria, and we're thankful to all the members of the team. We're very grateful to the planning committee of the tax conference. We are very grateful to our sponsors. We're also super grateful to our judges who have taken out time out of their busy schedules to actually, participate and stay not just participate, but stay from the beginning to the end. We're very grateful for the debate review committee, which I currently chair, that has been able to also assist with the help of Tax House to put this together. And I just want to say thank you very much. And of course, just as what Timmy has said, we are going to be having the conference proper next week. And so we are looking forward to having you all participate. Please follow us on our LinkedIn platforms. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. And of course, do feel free to also connect with each and every one of us, the judges. I'm pretty sure that as a result of this competition, you've come into formidable alliances. You've been able to hear from one another and connect with one another. So please take advantage of the opportunity, because you do not know. Who knows? Maybe you'll be appointed as a fellow of a tax institute, or a lecturer, or a professor of law of tax somewhere, and you have this on your CV stating that I actually participated in this event. If you love what we do, please support us, please show us some love, and we are so grateful. We are looking forward to doing this again next year, and I can assure you that this is just the beginning of fantastic things to come. I am once again Rosemont Philothiwa, and it's such a pleasure to actually be a part of this global tax conference. And signing out, we are saying very big thank you to each and everyone that has been part of it. Our moderators, Timmy, we celebrate you, Muyat. We thank you so much for being a part of this and helping us to achieve the objectives and the purpose of this debate competition. Thank you very much, and I wish us a very pleasant weekend and a pleasant day ahead. Thank you very much, and over and out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosemont. With that, I would bring you back up stage, and we open the curtain together, so we'll draw that curtain together. But quick shout out to Tai Praise, who is also a member of the debate planning committee, worked seriously behind the scene also to make sure today is a success. Tight, I think.
Thank you for
You just
having
have to go.
me. Thank you for having me. It was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be very uptight and serious and just numbers, numbers, numbers. But this has been very enlightening, and I've had fun learning new perspective and sharing some of mine with you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Really great doing this with you. And to all our audience, please have a great day. Just like Professor Judith, if there's a wedding close by, kindly attend. If it's a Nemi, also do same. Rejoice, also rejoice, and do everything you need to do in moderation. Have a great day and enjoy your weekend.